Hey everyone, quick question. When was the last time you actually thought about where your petrol comes from? Not the servo down the road. I mean, before that. Which country, which ship, which refinery? Most of us never think about it. Because we've never had to. You pull up, tap your card, drive away. But right now, in April 2026, Australia is in the middle of a genuine fuel crisis. Hundreds of service stations have already run dry. Diesel prices have surged more than 50% in some regions. Farmers are saying they can't run their machinery, and the government has declared this a national emergency. So today, let's break down exactly what's going on, why it happened, how bad it could get, and, most importantly, what it means for you. To understand this, we need to go back a few weeks to what's happening in the Middle East. The US and Israel launched military strikes on Iran in late February. In response, Iran effectively closed the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway between Iran and Oman that carries about 20% of the world's entire oil supply. Now, here's where Australia comes in. You might think, okay, we don't buy oil directly from Iran. What's the big deal? Here's the deal. Australia imports roughly 90% of its refined fuel, and most of that comes from refineries in South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, and Taiwan. Those refineries, they depend heavily on Middle Eastern oil, flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. When the strait got disrupted, the Asian refineries that supply Australia started running short. Shipments were canceled, others were delayed, and the knock-on effect hit Australian fuel terminals faster than most people expected. At the same time, panic buying kicked in. People saw the news, headed to their nearest servo, filled up their car and their jerry cans. Within days, over 600 service stations across the country reported running out of at least one type of fuel. In Estables alone, more than 100 were completely dry. So let's look at the numbers, because they're honestly a bit alarming. Australia currently holds about 39 days of petrol reserves, 29 days of diesel, and 30 days of jet fuel. Sounds okay, right? Here's the problem. The International Energy Agency recommends countries maintain 90 days of supply. We're sitting at about 1/3 of that. For context, we went from 8 operating oil refineries in 2005 down to just 2 today. The Ampol refinery in Brisbane and Viva Energy's refinery in Geelong. Together, they supply less than 20% of what we need. Everything else comes from overseas, on foreign ships, that we have no control over. Analysts are warning about what they're calling a supply cliff, potentially hitting in mid-April. If Asian refinery inventories stay depleted, that's not far away. Diesel is the big concern right now, because diesel isn't just for trucks and tradies. It powers farm machinery. If farmers run out of diesel during planting season, and some are already reporting this, that's not just inconvenient, that's a direct threat to food supply. NSW Farmers President Xavier Martin put it bluntly. Farmers across the country have run out or are running out of fuel, with suppliers telling them there's nothing more coming. To be fair, the government has responded. Energy Minister Chris Bowen has released 762 million liters from domestic reserves. That's petrol and diesel combined. He's also temporarily lowered fuel quality standards for 60 days, which allows higher sulfur fuel that normally gets exported to be redirected to the local market instead. That adds about 100 million liters a month. The government has also halved the fuel excise tax to ease price pressure and has been securing new shipments from the United States to reduce dependence on Asia-Pacific suppliers. National Cabinet agreed to a national fuel security plan, and the government has said rationing is not imminent. But here's where critics push back. Experts from the Lowy Institute, Macquarie Business School, and industry groups say these are short-term fixes. The problem is structural. Australia spent decades closing refineries and offshoring fuel production because imports were cheaper. Now that those global supply chains are disrupted, we've got almost no buffer. One analyst said it pretty bluntly. Everything is fine until it is not. Australia had this same conversation after COVID, after the Ukraine war, and each time, not enough changed. Okay, so practically what should you actually do right now? First, do not panic buy. Seriously. The panic buying is a big part of why we have empty servos. If everyone drives to fill up extra jerry cans today, it makes the shortage worse. The government has enough supply nationally, it's a distribution problem, not a volume problem. Second, if you drive a diesel vehicle, especially in rural areas, it's worth knowing your nearest, reliably stocked servo and keeping your tank reasonably topped up. Not full jerry can paranoia, just sensible. Third, petrol prices are expected to keep climbing. Some analysts are forecasting unleaded could hit $3.50 a liter. Budget for that. If you've got a big commute, now's a good time to look at carpooling or public transport for some days. And if you've been thinking about an EV, well, the timing argument is now pretty compelling. Fourth, watch the mid-April window. That's when experts say we'll have a clearer picture of whether incoming shipments are going to stabilize things, or whether we're heading into a more serious phase. Here's what I find most interesting about this whole situation. Australia is one of the biggest fossil fuel exporters in the world. We sell coal and gas to half of Asia, and yet we can barely fuel our own farms. There's something deeply ironic about that. We export energy, but we can't secure our own energy supply because we dismantled domestic refining capacity over 15 years to save a few cents per liter. This crisis is a stress test, and right now, it's exposing some very real vulnerabilities in how Australia thinks about national security. Not just military security, but economic and supply chain security. Whether this becomes a short-term blip or a longer structural shift probably depends on how long the Iran conflict continues. But either way, the conversation about fuel sovereignty isn't going away. So Australia is in a fuel crisis. It's not catastrophic yet, but the warning signs are real, and the structural problems underneath. This have been building for decades. Have you been affected? Have you seen empty servos near you? Or been hit by price surges? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious where it's hitting hardest. If this was useful, hit the like button and subscribe for more Australian news breakdowns. I'll keep tracking this one closely. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.